Ay, ay. Welcome back, everyone, to another retrospective video. I'm Shadospartan, and for Halloween, let's take a look at Condemned: Criminal Origins. Released in 2005 for the Xbox 360, and later got a PC release in 2006. Published by Sega and developed by Monolith Productions, the same team that made Alien vs. Predator 2, The Matrix Online, Fear, and Middle-earth: Shadow of War. This first-person survival horror game was an interesting experience. It had the creepy atmosphere and some jump scares, but after a while it became less scary and just got more frustrating with the combat system. As usual, we're going to go through the story, so spoiler warning, what I liked and disliked, and any funny or awkward moments that happened to me during my playthrough. Let's go investigate some serial killers. We start off with a creepy intro. You are Ethan Thomas, a crime scene investigator for the FBI.
People are scared. We need to get this one. Follow me. Body's this way.
You follow an officer to the crime scene.
God, why do they always have to kill in such maggot-infested dumps? Why can't they pick a nice spot without addicts and gang members for once? Someplace not so damn dark.
There's not much to explore, but you may stumble across some creepy things. The atmosphere and music do begin to creep me out, so this game does do a good job at building tension. You arrive at the crime scene and begin investigating. It's a little confusing, but when you are in an area for investigating, this message in the bottom right will pop up. You press T to pick up a tool. Then when you find the highlighted area here on the victim's neck, then press T again to take out your camera to take a photo. You send the photo to Rosa, who analyzes it and discovers the handprint is missing an index finger on his right hand. Then this happens. Next, you scan the mannequin for some marks, which Rosa says matches the work of a serial killer they call the Matchmaker. Then one of the officers smells someone is smoking a cigarette.
He's right above us! Call for backup now!
This is Officer Becker. We need backup immediately. 4th and Stark. Potential homicide suspect still in building.
Officers are on their way. ETA 10 minutes.
Then the lights go out. So this genius officer makes you go off alone to get the power back on, while the other two go after the suspect.
Oh, and for Christ's sake, be careful.
Thanks, that's gonna help me out a lot. But at least I have a gun. You finally get to fight your first enemy, which is easy because they have melee weapons and you have a pistol. Rosa tries to give you some information regarding these people are crazy because they are addicts, vagrants, and psychotic individuals. Walking in this game is slow, but I'm sure that's by design. Eventually you get a stamina meter so you can sprint for a little while. Oh. Another strange vision of what I'm assuming is the killer. I'm not sure what these are trying to tell me or if it's hinting at me being the killer since you don't get to see his face. But that doesn't seem to be the case. When you turn the power back on, it shocks you, knocking you down, and of course sends your gun rolling towards the suspect. But he runs away with it. Now you need to use whatever you can to fight enemies. The combat system takes some time to get used to. You attack or block. Different weapons have different stats. Some deal more damage, are faster at hitting, some are better at blocking, and some have more reach than others. You need to take all of this into account during your fights, and hope you can defeat your enemy before he defeats you. Sometimes you might have to fight more than one enemy, but if you can get them to hit each other, then sometimes they will fight each other, so you just wait and fight the winner. The only other thing to do is collect things such as dead birds for achievements.
Okay, cool.
You meet back up with your colleague and tells you about the fuse box and the suspect has your gun.
What? How the hell did that happen?
He gives you an axe and reminds you that you had a taser this whole time and can use it to stun enemies. The taser is on a 15-second cooldown. Once the enemy is stunned, you can even grab the weapon from them. You learn that these types of doors require an axe to chop down. This is cool because you may want to hold on to an axe in order to access certain rooms for health or guns. You continue on taking out more enemies until you get into this room.
Oh, jeez.
How does it feel to be on this end of the gun? But listen, you bastard. Don't mess this up for us. We are both on the same path of righteousness.
Thomas!
And the path takes strange turns.
Police! Drop the weapon now!
Be ready for death, Agent Thomas. It shall come visiting again.
And that was Chapter 1. It's a slow start, but it does a good job setting up the creepy atmosphere and teaching you the basics of the game, as well as this old run-down apartment-style building. Ethan appears to wake up in his apartment. This is Malcolm Van Horn. Says he's a friend of Ethan's father.
Yes, I remember you.
The police are on their way, but Malcolm explains the police are coming to arrest Ethan for the death of the two officers since they were shot by his gun.
Open up, it's the police.
As Ethan is about to leave, he spots the suspect across the street. You first need to pick up the shovel and use it to open this gate. As you go into the subway, another vision happens of what looks to be the suspect taking photos. This is supposed to give you a hint to take photos of these photos in this trash can to send to Rosa. She says she believes you didn't kill those cops, so she helps you. The photos are of Ethan in his apartment. Then you need to go here and scan this liquid. Rosa says the photos had to be processed somewhere in the subway station, so you need to locate the room where the photos got processed. That's when a random guy shows up for you to kill and take his crowbar to open the door. It is a good idea to hold on to crowbars because they will open lockers which usually have a weapon in them. Malcolm calls and says something about trust your instincts. Then there was this.
Oh, what?
This wasn't the only time that happened, so it's not a perfect game. Go to the kitchen and you'll find a shotgun to use.
Ooh, let's go.
The AI in this game isn't the smartest. Sometimes enemies will hide around a corner, but you'll obviously see them right there. Malcolm calls again and says something about he's watching over me and seeing if Ethan will find his potential.
You become an excellent investigator. Not through training or luck, but instinctually. However, you'll find that you are capable of seeing so much more.
Again with the instincts.
They're a gift from, well, perhaps not from God.
Later on, fighting more enemies, I discover you can have a Mortal Kombat finisher moment.
Finish him!
There's 4 to choose, so here's the other 3. You continue following the trail until you get to this elevator. You'll need to turn the power back on, but first you need to find a fire axe to break the door down. Here it is. Break the door down, turn the power back on, ride the elevator. In this room you need to watch your corners. You once again have a vision which tells you where the secret room is. This room is across the street from Ethan's apartment. Walk inside and you'll discover a tape recorder. You'll scan the handprint, but it's not the same as the matchmaker. In another room you discover newspapers all about different serial killers. Even more strange, all of them are cases Ethan have worked on. Then a window breaks, and as I walk into the next room, I teleport and fight a mini-boss? Ethan has a little vision, then throws up, and the suspect begins running away. I follow after him, back into this room, only to see birds falling from the window. Anyway, chapter is over. It's overall good. It added more weapons to use and even a shotgun. Enemies even started to carry some guns, so you need to be extra careful. I did also like the design of a creepy old rundown office setting. I think that's going to be a theme. It is called Condemned after all. Chapter 3 has you in hot pursuit of the suspect. Well, not really, Ethan prefers to walk slowly. You follow him down into an old subway, and there's sometimes enemies fighting each other. First you need to find a fire axe for this door. Oh look, this guy has one. Not much else to say. You follow a linear path and fight enemies.
Alive? You're still alive?
Luckily, I still had the shotgun. You follow the suspect down and board the train. However, this was the most awkward moment. You're stuck on the back, there's no audio. Then one guy jumped on my car, but otherwise nothing else happens. The suspect then comes and knocks you off. What's strange is this train makes noise.
Now we hear the sound of a train.
I'm wondering if they had more planned out for this chapter, because that was it. Really short and incomplete. Chapter 4 has you continuing on to follow the suspect. Honestly, I feel like Jason Voorhees, because Ethan walks slow like him, but seems to conveniently catch up with the suspect who's always running. Maybe this is somehow symbolic of Ethan being a serial killer? Anyway, your enemies here are the creepiest, but easy to kill. They crawl on the ground really fast, but die in one hit. Including your taser. Not sure if we're getting into the realm of zombies or demons. Eventually you catch up with the train car and begin looking for clues. You first check the fire extinguisher, then use a different tool on the fire extinguisher to scan for a DNA sample. Rosa tells you to wait for a while, then you see this big sledgehammer wielding man fighting some enemies. Then you get to fight him, but he's really easy, because your taser stops him and you can just take his weapon. You take a picture of this map, which Rosa will analyze, kick the fan, and continue on. You try to follow the suspect, but he used an axe on this gas pipe. You'll need to turn that off first. Do grab the axe because you'll need it. Rosa calls back and tells Ethan the suspect's routine path from the map. This location is his hub. Then he sometimes takes it to a farm, which we will get to later in the game. Rosa confirms this suspect is the guy who killed the two officers.
The matchmaker. At least, I think so. Something's still not adding up.
You continue fighting more ghouls until you find this steam valve. Continue through until you get to another room where you must turn on the steam valves to cause an explosion. Except there was no sound.
Okay, Bluey.
I'd really like to ask Monolith what happened with the guy in charge of sound, because this could not have gone unnoticed. If anyone played this on the Xbox 360, please let me know if this problem exists on there, because I want to think it's just a PC port issue. Fight more enemies until you find this blueprint. You'll take pictures and Rosa says to find a crowbar to open a special compartment in one of the train cars. You go into this room and have another vision. Scan this crowbar and Rosa will explain the chemicals are from mannequins. Make your way into the train and take a picture of a footprint. Then you open up the compartment and mannequin parts fall out. You take a picture of this arm, which leads you to you guessed it, a mannequin shop, which went out of business years ago. So you make your way back, fighting off more ghouls, and the chapter is over. Another good chapter. The map is well designed for a creepy sewer and rundown subway. We get a cutscene of Ethan talking to his boss, Farrell, at the FBI, but something sneaks up on Ethan.
Maybe I have gone crazy.
Now we enter the mannequin shop. This is probably the creepiest place. But first Malcolm calls and makes sure Ethan is continuing his investigation, which is sounding suspicious. As I walk further in, you'll hear sounds of glass breaking, which means you aren't alone in here. Then this happens. You continue on, and this place is making me more tense than any other level so far, until I enter this room.
Oh, God.
I got lucky and they started hitting each other, but this made me more tense because now I don't know which one are mannequins or enemies. You find a back room and snap a photo of the handprint. It's missing the index finger, which means the matchmaker was here. However, Rosa points out back in Chapter 2 the tape recorder had a different handprint, so the matchmaker isn't the one following Ethan. Then another vision shows someone hitting another person.
Blood droplet size and dispersal pattern indicate victim sustained a heavy blow. Height of blood on wall indicates it's possibly a head wound.
Continue on, and when I entered this room, this is what I mean. I had a strong feeling that there was an enemy in that room with mannequins. So excellent job to the devs for instilling that fear in me. The truth is, there weren't any enemies in that room. But this still happened.
You're dead.
You follow a blood trail which indicates the killer is dragging a body somewhere. It leads to an elevator where the body was dumped, so you need to find a way down there. Like I said, you don't know which is a mannequin or an enemy, because turns out this mannequin is an enemy. When I went back through the footage, it turns out there wasn't anything there when I first came into the room. Then an enemy was placed there when I came back into the room. So you really need to pay attention or you might walk into an enemy. There was this awkward moment.
Oh. Did your hand get stuck in the wall there, buddy?
I almost forgot to mention, sledgehammers are used to open locks. Continue following the blood trail, but a gate is blocking your path, so you need to find another route. Rosa thinks it's the matchmaker dragging his latest victim, but the handprint from the tape recorder has her unsure who the other suspect might be. Since the trail ends, Rosa says to use a gas spectrometer to continue following the dead body. However, you need an axe to get through the door. That was creepy. Anyway, break down the door, and as you look through the dressing rooms, you get a vision of the matchmaker dragging a body. Eventually, you find the body with a mannequin similar to the crime scene from Chapter 1, except this time it's a male corpse with a female mannequin. You then take a photo of the corpse's face. It's the same markings on the previous mannequins from the matchmaker's crime scenes. Then take a photo of the corpse's right index finger.
This guy's the matchmaker. Well, he certainly didn't kill himself and set it up this way.
You can scan the corpse's neck, but no DNA trace. Rosa says she'll work on it, but then you hear police are in the building looking for you. The two officers get killed, which I'm sure you'll get blamed for as well. Rosa calls and tells you about those newspaper clippings about the serial killers Ethan was investigating. There were 9 of them and 7 were crossed out. The only 2 left were the matchmaker and someone known as the torturer. So it seems the suspect you've been chasing is using you to track down the serial killers. He's like a serial killer. But he did kill those cops, so don't start thinking he's some good vigilante.
And now you can cross off the matchmaker.
Anyway, more bad guys show up, but the police send in gas, so you need to get out. This is my favorite chapter in the game. To feel the tension of is that an enemy or a fake was awesome. Whoever came up with this concept did a great job, and the team did great executing it. Ethan takes a break and talks to Rosa. They're trying to figure out who this other guy is that just killed the matchmaker.
So, this serial killer X kills serial killers. He takes them down using their own methods. If the torturer is still at large, what's his MO?
The torturer likes to abduct people, torture them for fun, then just let them loose and hunt them down, but drive them crazy to the point of suicide.
What is this city coming to? Alright, so I've got to find the torturer and save his ass so the new killer doesn't kill him?
Life of an agent.
So Rosa and Ethan decide to meet up because Rosa has some information to show Ethan in person. Ethan says to meet up at the city library because there was a fire there, so it's been shut down for repairs. Ethan believes there's gotta be at least one computer still working, so they can find some public information on the torturer. You fight enemies and get to the city streets where both police and bad guys are fighting. You have to hold out for a little while until this gate opens, then ride this dumpster and fight some bad guys that jump on. Then a cutscene plays of Ethan hiding and his phone rings so a cop thinks he heard something, but doesn't check the door next to him, and that's it for Chapter 6. Once again, another short chapter that I wonder if the devs had more ideas for, but ran out of time, or it didn't work as intended so they had to cut it short. More likely, this was just a simple chapter for connecting Chapter 5 and 7 together. Next chapter looks to have some ghouls inside, but Ethan breaks a window to get in. You can explore a bit, but take the elevator down to the basement. Then you get a strange vision. You meet up with Rosa, and she tells you there are addicts and squatters inside. but shows you a file about Ethan. She talks about your bone and muscle densities are off the chart.
You also have a hyperactive serotonergic system in the brain. What that means, I have no idea. And lastly, there's a chest x-ray that's been redacted.
So the government knows something about Ethan and doesn't want anyone else to know about it. Then you get your taser upgraded. Now it deals more damage, knocks enemies down, and drops their weapon. You get another quick vision. Rosa tells you to look in these offices, then something strange happens.
Oh, Jesus!
You regroup with her and check with the computer, but the server is down. Suddenly, Rosa disappears. Another vision of her being taken by the suspect. I began to think the story is Ethan is actually the suspect, and every time things go black and white, Ethan goes into his psychopath mode. Maybe he has a split personality disorder. But no, the suspect calls and you can hear Rosa in the background. You go after some bad guys and eventually find the server room. Make your way back to the elevator and take out these 3 guys to find a submachine gun. It's very inaccurate but fires a lot of bullets. Make sure you brought the crowbar to get these doors open. Then you'll see Rosa on the ground in the next room. Walk over to this bookshelf to move the ladder to climb up. You jump down and meet up with Rosa. Turns out the sample you took from the ground was blood, so they could finally find out who this serial killer X guy is. Rosa says the suspect wanted to know what we knew about the torturer, so she told him what she knew, then left her unconscious. So now they look for information regarding the torturer. They find a report about a retired gym teacher told police of a youth named Carl Anderson who 8 years ago had fantasies that matched the torturer's methods exactly. Police say the gym teacher has gone missing.
Carl Anderson. A gym teacher tells the cops on you, and now the teacher can't be found. Okay, Rosa, we have to find the school where this teacher worked.
School and city district records are in the basement.
So both of you head back down to the basement. I wait around and then everything gets scary. Rosa nicely gives you her flashlight, but now I need to walk through the dark bookcases. This is good tension building. However, once you start fighting the enemies, it's really simple. They die to everything in one hit. I accidentally tase Rosa, who doesn't seem fazed by it. I continue on, and will say this level does keep the tension going. I think it's because I can't see very well and have no idea if an enemy is just around the corner, and they can reach through the bookcases. However, like I said, the moment you fight one, they die in one hit. So unfortunately the tension is lost because these enemies aren't much of a threat. You finally get to the room you need and find out the gym teacher taught at an educational rehabilitation center for the severely troubled. You get the address and see the suspect heard your every word, so he's likely heading there to go after the torturer. You fight off some enemies, then Rosa says she'll drive you to the rehabilitation center to try and find both the torturer and serial killer X. This was a pretty good chapter. The basement did have me scared at one point, but the skinny, crawling enemies are so easy to kill that all that tension is lost. I think this area should have had a boss fight, or really tough enemies that I need to sneak past without getting spotted. Perhaps something like armored squatters, and the only way to kill them is to sneak up behind them as they walk down each aisle. That would have been intense. Ethan is trying to find a way in when Malcolm suddenly shows up and asks how his investigation is going. He says he coincidentally saw you from across the street.
Coincidence? I don't know what your game is here, Van Horn, but I've got a job to do, if you'll excuse me.
You get inside and can look around, until you find this creepy fat lunch lady throwing some ghouls around. Then you find a classroom with a chalkboard saying, "Loose lips sink ships," and below find some human lips to scan. Rosa says the teacher is Samuel Tibbets, and yes, those are his lips. Then I find the fat lunch lady again, but she keeps running away. Eventually I find her in the freezer. I need the fire axe on the table for a specific door, but I need to cut off the arm of the ghoul to get it. However, I need a meat cleaver to cut it off, and the fat lunch lady has it. So this mini boss fight mostly involves me running around this table, waiting for my taser to recharge, then taser and smack her once. It's not that much fun, but eventually she dies, and I get the axe. You enter the gym, and lower the basketball hoop to find an arm tied to it. You scan the fingerprints, and it's the gym teacher, Samuel Tibbets' arm. The hoop on the other side falls and opens up a new path. You get outside and find a body of Ethan on the ground. Malcolm calls, but the call gets interrupted, and then another vision. Still not sure what it means, but perhaps it's Ethan falling into madness? You fight off some enemies, then head down into another building. Then another vision of what looks like Samuel trying to hide. You continue on and fight a few more enemies, until you find the locker. You look inside, and it's Samuel. You snap a photo, but Rosa needs to get a close-up of his face.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Help me!
We then see a vision of the serial killer X attacking the torturer, but Samuel falls over and dies. Rosa calls back and says she found some more information regarding serial killer X. She says she found some chemical on him that can only be found on apple orchard farms. Ethan thinks he might know where, so Rosa will look into it. So now Ethan just needs to meet up with Malcolm at the entrance. However, when I jump into this pool, I have a strange vision and need to fight off some enemies in the Shadow Realm. It's easy because the enemies get one-shotted. Then some strange things happen. Ethan throws up, then this creepy guy shows up, and Ethan gets thrown around a bit.
What?
So after that strange vision, Rosa says she found an orchard and relays that information to him. So Ethan goes with Malcolm to the orchard. This was a decent chapter. It's not adding anything new gameplay-wise, just more enemies to fight, and advance the story. And whoever this guy is, I'm gonna guess he's the final boss. Malcolm takes Ethan to the apple orchard. Ethan talks about his file to Malcolm, and what the Bureau knows. Malcolm says it's best he stays away from them for a while.
This is Appleseed Orchard Estate. Stay on your toes. I'll drop you off at the house and head over to the barn. I'll meet up with you later.
You have a quick vision of someone inside the house. This is another well-designed chapter. I was tensed up the entire time, especially in the basement, wondering when an enemy was going to attack me. It seems the enemies only continuously spawn while in the basement. You need to find all 4 parts of a riddle. The first is in the sink in the basement.
What?
Then when you go up to the attic, you'll run into a mini-boss. He attacks several times and your taser doesn't stun him for long. Then you'll find this hole to drop down into, and find the next part of the riddle in this small chest. The next one is in a closet upstairs, and the last one is in the oven in the kitchen.
Okay, the dark path to righteousness is beyond what you see yourself to be.
At the time, it wasn't obvious to me what it could mean. So after a few minutes, Rosa calls and will give you a hint about a mirror, which I remembered in the basement. So I head down there and open up to discover a secret room. You find a scrapbook of news stories about Ethan.
Looks kind of like our serial killer X has been following your life and career pretty closely.
Yeah, but why?
Maybe he likes a challenge. Maybe he's chosen you to go up against and he's trying to understand his enemy.
Maybe, but I don't know. Seems more to it than that.
Then you hear noises of people breaking in upstairs. When you go up there, a voice startled me. You probably noticed he doesn't say this part of the subtitles.
God, please. I can't take this anymore. My ears. My hands.
It's most likely the torturer upstairs, but there's a piano that comes crashing down and gets stuck. Apparently you need a fire axe to get it out of the way, cause video game logic. Well, enemies start coming through the window, so it feels like Horde mode from Gears of War or Firefight from Halo. You keep going back and forth between 2 rooms until an enemy with an axe shows up, so you can finally get the piano out of the way. When you go upstairs, another vision shows the torturer killing himself. You take a photo of his fingerprints. Unfortunately, Farrell, your boss, calls and suspends your access. Despite being so close to catching serial killer X, Farrell doesn't listen.
There are things we need to discuss.
I can't do it, Farrell.
Then play it your way, but we'll find you. Count on it.
Looks like you're on your own, Thomas.
Then a cutscene plays of serial killer X coming in to finish off Carl. Ethan takes the body into the closet and takes his clothes to pretend to be Carl, then waits to ambush him.
Now. You shouldn't have come here.
He runs away, so I just wait for him near the stairwell. It's not that difficult of a fight. Just hit him once, then back away, wait for his attack to miss, then hit him again. After a while, you'll get hit by Malcolm with a shovel. You then wake up and Malcolm talks to Serial Killer X and says the name Leland and calls him nephew.
I am here to help. You are not yourself. You are not in your right mind. Let me help you. I know of what I speak.
And that was the end of the chapter. A great beginning of investigating for clues and then solving a riddle, which eventually gives you a big hint to help you out. But then it throws some enemies at you, which at this point is boring for me, especially since you get used to the enemy's attack pattern. There's just very little variety in your enemies. You wake up to Leland talking about how he used you to find the other killers. He had fun finding them and using their methods to kill their victims on the killers themselves. As he talks about which method to kill you by, you spot this creepy looking thing behind Leland. But he cuts off your finger and Malcolm wakes up and restrains Leland.
You must find and destroy it. It has caused all this madness. Go, kill it, now!
Okay, what? That thing is real and it's giving off some kind of aura that causes madness in people? Okay, well, you've lost your taser, so it's all down to melee weapons now. You follow a linear path to fight these big guys, which are normal enemies you fought the entire game, and sometimes these tiny guys which die in one hit. You can find a rifle, which is pretty cool. Different, but guns just make it easier and less tense to fight enemies. However, then you fight that mini-boss guy again. And he killed me a couple of times.
Are you serious?
Now things get fun and challenging. All I can say is to be patient and ready to block his attacks, then sprint in to land a hit.
Oh.
You continue on and run into enemies with rifles.
What is that bullshit? Am I supposed to go that way or not?
Turns out just to the right over here is a rifle. Now you get some guns to play with for a while, before going into this factory. First you fight a few easy enemies, then fight the final boss. It takes a while to get used to his attack pattern, but again, just be patient and block often. Eventually he goes down, and you take a piece off of him. He jumps upstairs, so you climb a ladder to go after him. I will admit, he was getting on my nerves because it looked like to me I should have blocked some of his attacks, but the attacks hit me anyway.
Every time I try to block it, it's just, oh, it's too early. Okay, what happened there? What happened there?
So I don't know what's the best strategy for him, but I try to be patient and time my attacks in between his. Eventually you rip out his spine. So now you go into what looks like the Shadow Realm, and have one last duel with him, then finally ripping out his jaw and snapping his neck to finally kill him. Ethan runs back to the barn to try and rescue Malcolm. Then a car shows up thinking it's the police, but it's Malcolm. Ethan knows he can never go back to his old life. And Malcolm talks about that thing he fought as some sort of face of hate and evil. It was the reason for all this madness in the city. However, Ethan hears something in the trunk and demands Malcolm to pull over. Leland was in the trunk and now Ethan pulls a gun and wants to kill him. Malcolm claims Leland was a good person, but blames it on the madness that caused him to be like this. You now have a choice. You can kill him, or Leland will pull a gun and shoot himself. So it actually doesn't matter what you do, because either way the final cutscene is the same. Rosa comes and talks to you at a diner. Ethan says he was cleared from the killing of the two officers. Rosa says they found out all this was because of a cult. However, they still have unanswered questions and feel Leland wasn't working alone. Ethan asks if he can trust her. She writes down she's wired, so Ethan doesn't tell her about everything else he learned from Malcolm. Then we get this. And that's the game. Yeah, I'm still a little bit confused about what this evil is. Are they demons from another world? Or aliens? According to the Condemned wiki page, this cult is called the Oro, a religious cult and secret society striving for world domination. The metal implants are to tune their voices and are used to cause people to become sadistic and violent. Fun fact, Oro Invictus is Latin for invincible voice. The final boss is referred to as the Oro Dark Primary, but even the wiki says in-game he's known as the Hate. Well, I think this final chapter was still great because it takes away your taser, so now I really need to memorize enemy attack patterns. The final boss was a challenge, and despite hearing me get frustrated, just know I was having fun. Just because something makes you angry and you think it's complete bullshit, you can still have a fun time overcoming that challenge. Just play Dark Souls. In conclusion, Condemned Criminal Origins is an interesting experience. It does have some fun horror elements and was still perfect to play during October. However, it feels like this game needed more time to polish some things out. The combat is different from most games I've played, and will take a little time getting used to, but once you have it down, it is fun. Plus, it's great to watch enemies start fighting each other for accidentally hitting one another. The crime scene investigation seems like a fun idea on paper, but in execution, it just feels like it's slowing down the pace of the game. In the end, I would still recommend playing this game, so if you see it on sale like I did on Steam, buy it and play it for next October. I also just want to say the development team at Monolith are great, and this game showed they really wanted to make a unique type of game. I think they succeeded, and the game must have done well enough that a sequel was made, but only released on consoles. I hear it explains more about this evil and madness, so if you want more answers about the lore, you might want to watch a playthrough of that game. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe to help grow my channel, and leave a comment on what you thought. Usual shoutouts go to Traveling Calligrapher, Life Live Candidly, and The Speakeasy. Check them out, links are in the description. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.
I paused it right as I'm about to get attacked. Oh, nope. Alright.
Take this, you...